first question is, what drew you to the role of Gravik?
It was that Gravik was pitched to me as a really dark character, and I'd never played a villain before, I guess, and just had some great conversations with the producers, and I came on really early when they were still developing the show, so there were lots of ideas, and we had some great conversations about, you know, the style of the show and what their intentions were, and how they wanted to create a thriller espionage type vibe, and yeah, in a way that felt grounded and real. So that really appealed to me, and Gravik, sort of building him around that tone just felt really appealing to me at the time, and it was a kind of a role that I'd never played before, so it felt really interesting for me.
Thank you. So the next one is, what was it like to play a villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, I'd never played a villain before, so it was really my first experience of playing a villain, and I think what was interesting about this was that he was Gravik was a character that we wanted to make as real as possible, and it was really important to us that we made him as dangerous as possible, and that his relationship towards violence was really real, and that yeah, we so to me it felt like I was in a drama. I sort of, at some point, it wasn't about being in the MCU, it was just about getting to play a really interesting and complicated role with a terrific group of actors, man. Like, the cast was just like astonishing. So, you know, and there was a couple of scenes I read that you know, where Gravik is with Talos and Fury, and some of the writing Brian Tucker created was just awesome. It felt like pieces extracted from a play. So there was a part of me that knew it was going to be a lot of fun to like act in. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I guess you responded already this, but what did you enjoy the most about this experience?
What I enjoyed the most, I guess, was I had a great time with the stunts team. You know, Rob and the guys were so all over it. They especially with Gravik, because of his relationship to violence, I guess, and his ease around murder, mass murder. You know, working with those guys in the stunts team, like, that's what they're good at. So they have, you know, they're all like highly qualified in all sorts of martial arts and gun experts, and, you know, they're sort of like pain teachers. So yeah, I enjoyed that because it helped me with the character, and yeah, and then there was a couple of scenes there's one scene with Sam that comes towards the end of the show, and one with Ben, I think, in episode 3 or 4, and I read those really early on, and yeah, the writing really excited me. Brian really put together some really dope scenes, and it was just like, at the time, I was like, I'm gonna get to play these with Sam and Ben, so yeah, I was all in.
Thank you for that. The next one is, in general terms, tell us what Gravik's grievances is and what he wants.
I think Gravik's grievances is many things, really, but I guess hypocrisy is the word that comes to mind. I think he feels completely let down by the leadership in his life. One of those leaders being Fury and the other Talos, and I think we meet him at a point in episode 1 where he no longer trusts anyone, and that he's got a bone to pick with these guys, and he's really pretty far gone. Like, my feeling was always that, like, here's a guy who's really not well, and he's sort of riddled with rage and hatred to a degree that, like, to me felt like it had to be, we had to go as far as we could go with that. And I think on one level what he wants is to gain as much power as possible in order to inflict as much pain and chaos as possible, while Nick Fury and Talos witness it happening. And so, yeah, it was trying to create as many layers around that as possible, so you feel that there is something going on with this guy underneath that's not what he's saying, and what he's saying and doing are two completely different things, and that when he's speaking to people, there's just needs to feel like there's something else going on underneath that feels uncomfortable. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. The next one is, there were a lot of detailed practical sets built for this series. How
Mhm.
did they inform your acting? How?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of some of the sets. Yeah, well, there's the reactor room and New Skrulls. What was my favorite set? There was a couple of scenes. There was one where they created the National Portrait Gallery, and there was some paintings on the wall that were really great. It was like putting this character in a context that felt so out of place, and it was just really interesting to get to explore, what would this guy's relationship be to some of these paintings and some of these people. And I think specifically there were certain, like, leaders from history that he's referring to, and yeah, just creatively it was really fun. I think they did a really great job with that portrait gallery. It really felt like we were in a gallery, and the paintings felt really real. This was probably my favorite set. And some of the war scene, well, not war, but like the shootout scenes, and when on the airport run, some of the stunt stays when we were outside with the helicopters and the ropes coming down. It was a lot of fun.
How was it working with Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, those two were the reason why I couldn't say no to the job. I guess it was a lot of fun, and there was one day where I was on set with both of them at the same time, and that was carnage. Yeah, there was just a lot of energy and a lot of fun. You put those two together and it just goes off. But yeah, it was great to act with them in different ways.
Talk about your experience working with the director.
Yeah, me and Ali, we met really early on, and we had lots of really, great conversations about character and story, which is always, it's what you want, really. And yeah, I guess we tried to tune in as much as possible with like how do we, like, believably make this guy feel as dangerous as possible, and how do we make him feel really real within this. And I guess, yeah, grounded and dangerous are the two words that come to mind. And like, what was his relationships towards violence, and yeah, just each day we would just make sure that we were keeping him on the same track. And yeah, Ali was a great steerer of the ship in that way. He was open to as many rehearsals as we needed in the morning, as much time as we needed to get the scene right before we started shooting, to make sure we found all the right layers, and that we landed on the best possible version of the scene before we start shooting. We got to do that every day, so there's no rehearsal before you start shooting, but before we got to work each day, we'd make sure that we had time on the floor to do that. So I'm really grateful to Ali for that, because you don't always get that kind of time.
And lastly, if you could describe this series in one word, what would it be and why?
I guess the word it's either, I'd say dark, or no, I'd say thriller. Espionage. It's very hard to do one word. Different. Yeah, for Marvel fans, I guess that's probably the most appropriate word, because it's, yeah, I don't think they've tapped into this type of genre quite yet in the way that Secret Invasion's doing it.